Uh, Good morning. It's a little after 4 in the morning here. I woke up around 3 in the morning, not sleepy, so I went ahead and made coffee and tea and got a big drink of water. Um, it isn't exactly insomnia. I fell asleep too early last night. I think I sat down at 8 o'clock. Woke up around 3, so that's what, 7 hours? Oh, I have a listener. Yay. This wasn't planned, but as long as I'm awake, why not? Um, my internet connection seems to be strongest in the late night and early morning hours, so maybe I won't have any glitches this time. I've been thinking a lot about my brother, not genetically related, but uh, the child of my half brother's father from a different marriage. So, like, he's my Vaughn was my half brother's half brother, but not related to me. But we got along great until he got so into drugs. I think the heroin is what finally killed him. And he was such a talented artist. I have one of his paintings. He gave it to me for safekeeping, and when I tried to give it back to him, he refused to take it. Well, hi, Ivy. I think that is Zach. Not positive of anything. I'm terrible at names, but let me get Vaughn's painting. He considered it his masterpiece, but several years later he did some touch up that I think made it worse, not better. He wanted the painting to be weeping, and he made some tears run down the canvas. I liked it better without them, but that was his artistic vision, not mine. So let me grab that painting. It's right behind me, and see if I can show it to you. Um, Hey, I didn't drop anything or break anything. The lighting isn't too good in here, is it? Um, there's glare. I think if I show you, I have to be up where I can see it. That's the sky, and on this part, you can't see it in this image, but there's tears running down from the cloud, way down. There's a castle here, and I have to look at it myself. Um, yeah, there's some rocks, black rocks, and water, either a lake or an ocean at the bottom. But this castle is awesome. And um, this part here used to look as if it had a face made of rocks, but Vaughn changed it years later. Anyway, I think it's a gorgeous painting. I just wish I had better light. Um, I can eventually set up some better lighting. Yeah, it's a very nice painting, IB. I'll try to show you the painting again sometime when I have a better setup for lighting. During the daytime when there's sunlight coming in, it might be better. But I'm up now. Let me put the painting back without dropping or breaking anything. So Vaughn's painting has pride of place. His twin sister, no, his sister, who was a twin but not Vaughn's twin, is, I guess, curator of his work. There, some of his work is in a gallery in Phoenix, Arizona, and she's trying to get those works back and get all of Vaughn's artwork together. So that it's a complete collection. I'm on the fence about whether to give Tina, did I call her Terry? Terry was her twin, a boy. Tina is trying to get it all together in one collection. I don't think I ever met Tina and Terry, but if I did, it was only briefly on a visit to Granny's house in Southern Oregon after Granny passed away at 93. My half-brother Rick was staying there, and his siblings, Tina and Terry, were staying there, and I think Vaughn might have been staying there. Poor Vaughn, he was so talented, had so much going, but he got hooked on drugs. Big time. He was younger than I am by 2 or 3 years. I think he was 12 when I was 15, so that'd be 3 years. I like to paint, but I don't have his talent. Whoa. He once, while staying on a farm, where he took care of the chickens, he did a painting of stylized chickens that were dressed up like Las Vegas showgirls with the feather skirts and bustles. It was really amazing. And at one time, he was paid to make cover art for record albums. Wow. He started apparently with my oil painting paints and brushes and stuff. My mom gave them to him. I don't remember whether she asked me, but at the time I was too busy to do any painting, and those little tubes of paint really don't last forever. Anyway, oh, I wish I had half of that talent. Tora isn't here to say hi to her adoring fans because she's out catting around. That's what cats do. I try really hard to keep her in at least at night, but at 8 o'clock when I sat down, not intending to fall asleep, it was still 78 degrees. which is pretty darn warm, especially for a cat because cats have fur coats. See. Um, anyway, I'm usually asleep till at least 6, and here it is 4:22. Once again, I did not win the lottery. Don't have much of a topic. Just thought I might as well go live, seeing as how I'm up. Hey, so far so good on the internet connection. Although my picture, I don't know what it looks like to you, but sitting here, my picture is pixely, especially that white refrigerator has glowing, shimmering pixels. As I said, all my chocolate melted. Even yesterday, when it wasn't as hot as the previous 2 days, my candy bar, a Twix, which I've recently rediscovered, it kept melting. I kept having to put it in the refrigerator while I was still eating it. Every 5 minutes, it would just turn into goo, oozy goo. I'm glad you have good picture quality, IB. I think that's Zach. Anyway, uh, I'm beginning to get my things organized again. I'll tell you, when you decide to help someone who's, not at home due to illness or injury, don't do anything without asking. Oh, you're not Zach, you're the other guy, and I keep forgetting names. I'm sorry. I'm terrible at names. Sometimes I forget my own name, and I have a good excuse. When I got married, I became Tessa B. Dick. Well, B for Busby, my maiden name. Growing up, I was Leslie Ann Busby. But whenever Mom called me Leslie Ann Busby, I knew I was in for something bad. And Mom usually called me Tess, so Tessa is not a big change. Phil liked this. I think it was a Gilbert and Sullivan opera. Or did they call it operetta? A light opera, looked down upon by snobs, where the men are blindfolded and the men and women are running around in circles, and each man picks a bride by catching her in his arms. So this one character captures a woman, takes off the blindfold, and says, "At length I have made a capture. It is Tessa, rapture, rapture." That's where Phil got Tessa. Hi, Tim. I love my chat room. You guys are so smart. You make me look good. And when I make mistakes, I like to be corrected. When I was teaching English, it took a while to figure out or find out, really, by asking. And my students didn't want to correct the professor because that might be rude or inconsiderate. I need correction. The one time I remember most vividly, I was talking about the family tree of Darwinian evolution and how we classify animals. And, it goes kingdom, uh, phylum, family, and then I could not think of genus. I simply could not. I put genera, which is the plural. I just couldn't come up with it. And they were afraid to correct me when I wrote the wrong word. Hey, I'm human. I make mistakes. But you know what? I'm not a Republican. I'm not a Democrat. I had a brief flirtation with the Libertarian Party, but they're too libertine for my taste. So I'm no party affiliation. I don't like any of them. I like some individual politicians, but even on them my policy is wait and see what they do. Words are cheap. Even $5 words are cheap. Oh well. When I joined YouTube, I did not to agree with the policies and philosophies of the lords of YouTube. Same with Facebook. I'm on Twitter, but I really don't do much with it. Vcan! Hi, Vcan. Now, I do have that name right. That's Jimmy in England. I figure, let's see, 4 and 8. It's a little past noon in England. Well, I don't usually come on Thursdays, and I don't usually come on in the middle of the night, but I slept 7 hours and woke up at 3 in the morning, so why not? Let me talk about Fort Morgan, Colorado. The home of a very old graveyard that has no more room, really. All the family plots even the empty ones, are owned by the people who bought them years ago. Phil's father, Edgar, bought the plot when Phil and his sister Jane were born, or shortly after that, because Jane didn't make it. She lived about 6 weeks and died. So Edgar bought a plot in the family plot at the graveyard. I'm blanking on the name of the graveyard, but it's the only one I know of in Fort Morgan, Colorado. There's a bunch of dicks buried there. Husbands, wives, children. Anyway, Phil's father already owned that double plot for Phil and his sister. He bought it for 2 infants, so since Phil made it, he lived to be an adult. He was cremated because there wasn't enough room there for a casket. Oh, thank you, Ken. I'm not feeling all that good. We at this early hour, but I'm loving my new chair. This office chair was given to me. I have a couple jackets on it because the solid part of the chair back hits my back in a very bad spot. I think it was designed for a man or someone taller anyway. But hey, it swivels, it rolls. It doesn't roll too well because the rug underneath is shag, but it will roll, see? And swivel. It's easier for me to get up because I can turn the chair around so I don't have to get up and walk around. I just swivel the chair over and then get up. Oh, wow. People in this community are so nice and helpful, and there are times when I can help others. For example, I had some furniture that just wasn't working out. I set it out front, and someone came along and said, "Oh, can I have that? I need one." I said, "Sure, please do." And the Lions Club of Crestline, formerly Crestline Lioness, was sorting through the donations we got for our yard sale. And Catherine, who's in charge, decided that it really was not worth trying to sell certain crafting supplies like chunks of styrofoam and swatches of fabric and uh, artificial flowers and little beads and things. So we put them out front. And some people who do crafting saw that and said, "Can we have that?" "Sure, help yourself." And sometimes I even have food that I don't need. Oh, food. I'm on food stamps. It's embarrassing, but I can't earn a living. I've tried and tried and I can't. I can't do physical work. Ever since, I think it was '03, might have been '02, I was seriously ill with a kidney infection. And over the course of a year or two, I kept losing weight. So by '05, I was 35 pounds underweight. I'm still 30 pounds underweight, but my health is improving, but I keep having setbacks. I can tell by the condition of my hair and fingernails when they get stronger and look better. I know I'm doing something right, but I can't gain back that weight, and I can't lift a gallon of milk. If you hand it to me, I can carry it, but I can't lift it. I can't walk a whole block without stopping to rest, and if I have to walk a whole block, I use a walker. At least it's a nice one with four wheels so I don't have to go ga-clunk, ga-clunk. And it has a seat so I can turn around and sit down when I need to rest. Poor Beacon. Oh, at least he's on welfare. I'm over 65. In fact, I just 10 days ago turned 67. So I'm on Social Security, but it isn't much. What happened was my retirement account through work crashed to almost nothing. And I had to cash it out during the crash to stay afloat. So that's all gone. And I didn't have a lot of credits for work at Social Security. I had enough, but not a lot. So I get the bare minimum. But I do have Medicare, plus a supplement from California's Medicaid, which is called Medi-Cal. but I'm still getting hit with huge bills from when I broke my hip, despite the fact that I don't have any money. A charity paid some of it. I paid some of it. I paid an ambulance and some doctors and prescription medications. Tim, skim milk. Skim milk is gross. I want full fat. And even what we call whole milk now is only about 3% milk fat. It always used to be 4%. But the fat Nazis have taken the fat out of everything. The salt Nazis have taken out the salt, but at least I can add that from the salt shaker. Wall Street robbed the pot. That's so true, Viken. And the government, in the crash, who did they bail out? Wall Street. Not ordinary working people who couldn't pay their mortgages or their rent. It's kind of hard to be low on food, especially up here where every church has regular food giveaways. The high school has a food pantry. And yes, it's a small community, one school, one high school. And we have 2 food banks. And the local grocery stores donate food to the food banks and the churches. They they take products that are not out of date yet but getting close and donate them for free so they can restock their store shelves with newer, fresher things. And when we get the bread or milk or whatever, we right away so it doesn't go bad. And we get lots of produce too, some of it from local farms. Really nice. One of the farms is totally organic. They have a plot of land where chemicals have never been used for as long as we know in all of our history. So it's truly organic. Now I know that my tomatoes are organic because I'm growing them in pots, mainly so the gophers won't eat the roots. But there's nothing in that dirt that I didn't put there. Oh, Lordy. I haven't checked Facebook, so my mood has not gone sour. We keep having little fires, and we had one big one last week. Some idiot who was fleeing from the police crashed and went over the side of the road on our mountain and set the brush on fire in a canyon. It was very difficult, hard work, but our firefighters got it under control, and the airdrops of water and Phosgene helped. But it isn't technically out yet, it's just contained. Took 4 or 5 days just to contain it. The official acreage is 35 acres. They had estimated 40. That's a lot of land. Sometimes I hate this wireless mouse. It turns itself off to save the battery. Well, Viken, I have lots of help here. I just have to ask. But some of these guys are not necessarily reliable. The women tend to be more reliable or less unreliable, but I'm not paying them. Sometimes I give them my homemade jam. One guy wanted a pack of cigarettes. I've been just paying more attention lately. The pack is smaller than it used to be. The cigarettes are smaller than they used to be. And they're so loosely packed that I have to tap the pack to pack the tobacco a little tighter. There's about a 1/4 inch of just paper on the end after I do that. But if I don't tap them down, they fall apart while they're burning and spread burning embers everywhere, like on my lap and on my floor and on my computer. And by the way, those flying embers are EMBER. They are not ambers. Amber is my granddaughter. These are flying embers, although you wouldn't know it from listening to TV or radio. Yeah, there's still 20 in a pack, IB, but they're much smaller than they used to be. They aren't as big around and they aren't as long, and the tobacco is so loosely packed, there's a lot less of it. One of these isn't enough. When I was a teenager, one cigarette lasted as long as 2 of these. And Mom was complaining that those cigarettes lasted half as long as the cigarettes did when she was a teenager. When she had her first job, she would light a cigarette on her 15-minute break, and she couldn't smoke the whole thing in 15 minutes. These are gone in 5 minutes or less. Yeah, exactly. We get less product. In some cases for the same price. Oh man. Sometimes I hate my nose. So they can say the consumer price index is stable. There's no inflation. Yeah, but when a 5-pound sack of flour becomes a 4-pound sack, that's 20% less product for the same price. And by the way, the price did go up a little. But they don't take that into consideration. Oh, the price is stable. Yeah, right. It's really 20% increase in price. Same with sugar. Yeah. Yeah, the price is about the same, but you get 4 pounds, not 5. The milk tends to be the same amount in the carton, but I'm pretty sure that the way they reduced the milk fat from 4% to 3%, because it used to be 4%, they're either adding water or removing more of the fat to make cream and butter. Oh, hold on. Tora, kitty. Where's my Tora? Tora, come on, kitty. Yep, I heard Tora squeaking. Come on, sweetie pie. She finally decided to come in. What she does, yesterday I knew the word for it. It isn't actually squeaking, it's what bobcats do. Yeah, well, hang on, kiddo. I'm going to shut the door, Tora. Okay. You got to say hi to your adoring fans. Yeah, see? There she is. Such a good kitty cat. Oh, you're such a good girl. Mm-hmm. You want your treats, don't you? So stop with the kisses, Mom. Where's my treats? This time it isn't Temptations, it's Party Mix. Yeah, okay. What is this, Gravylicious Turkey? Turkey flavored Gravylicious Crunch. Okay. I'm glad she came in. I love that kitty. Oh, and you don't want to know about gasoline. Well, you're probably still jealous in the UK and Europe of our prices, but I'm telling you, in California, it's well over $4 a gallon for regular. It used to be less than $3 before last November, which isn't less, it's less than a year ago. In other states where they don't have such high taxes on gasoline, it's still well over $3 a gallon when it used to be a little under 2. Okay. Laura, are you purring? Are you all in one piece? You didn't meet that big bad raccoon? I gotta plug this in. They're here. £6 a gallon. Okay. A quid, I assume, is about a pound. I remember when the British pound was $5 American. Now it's much less, but that's still £6 is probably about $10 a gallon. In France, I'm pretty sure it's the equivalent of $10 or $12 a gallon, maybe more. Okay, I gotta take a quick break and recycle this coffee, but I will be back. You keep 'em company, Tora. Make some squeaks and purrs. I'll be right back. dum, dum. I'm coming back. Ah. Oh, Tora has found one of her favorite windows. Yeah, I'm in SoCal. 4.30 a gallon. Yeah, approximately. I just guesstimated. I knew it was over 4, but I don't have a car, so I don't have to worry about it. Except when I get a ride and chip in for the gas. What? Tora? I know what that means. He's scratching at the kitty treats. All right, okay. Come on, over here, right there. Cats. Cats are easy to please, usually. I'm just not willing to pay $70 for one pair of slacks or blue jeans. I just can't do it. Even if I had $70, I'm like, are you out of your mind? $70? And then I suppose a blouse to go with it would be about the same, maybe more. I'm like, So I look for discounts and thrift shops and try to find something that fits, that it isn't outrageously expensive. Yes, Tora. You want more? More gruel? Come on. She thinks she's Oliver Twist. Come on, Tora. I can't put them down in midair. You gotta come over here. There. Cats think I can put their treats down in midair. They won't eat them out of my hand. Use your bike as much as possible. Well, I recently got a yard sale bicycle, but it needs a little work before I can use it. The brakes don't work. But someone might fix it for me and not drag it to a bicycle shop and pay a ton of money. And the tires are flat, but I just got a yard sale bicycle pump. So that's a good thing. And it does not have gears. I don't do gears. I just pedal. And I'm really unhappy with these handbrake things, but I'm stuck with them. Bicycles don't seem to come with coaster brakes anymore. The ones where you just pedal backward and it stops the rear wheel. I miss those. Well, I can do quite a bit on my own on the bicycle, but I cannot do brakes, the hand brakes with the cables. Just can't do it. Brakes are kind of important. They have to work. I could do the coaster brakes, but one time when I was a kid, I put the coaster brake on backward, so of course that didn't work. Beach cruisers with single speed have coaster brakes. That's good to know. But hey, I got the yard sale bicycle for $10. I would love to have a moped, but they cost almost as much as a used car. And in crazy California, you have to have insurance to ride a moped. What am I going to crash into and on a moped that's going to require an insurance claim? I think you have to have a driver's license too. I've got one of those. I keep my driver's license current because why not? Um, I have to have some kind of ID, so why not go for the renewing my driver's license instead of applying for ID? Do you know in California, you have to show your ID to vote? You can't get it for free. It costs money. It has to have your photo on it, although they will accept a provisional ballot if all you have is a utility bill or a rental agreement. And then the registrar of voters will check and make sure that you're who you say you are. Um, and yet they're up in arms because in Georgia, where the state provides free photo ID, oh, you have to show ID to vote. That's racist. Well, California needs to look in the mirror. A driver's license is $35, even if it's just to replace a lost or stolen driver's license. $35. Well, someone stole my license, and it was only 1 year before renewal, but I had to pay twice, once for the replacement and then a year later for the renewal. I'm glad that happened before COVID was really seriously bad, because I no, it's the other way around. The DMV, Department of Motor Vehicles, was shut down, so I didn't have to find an office to go to get a new picture and take a test and all that stuff. By the way, I've never been required to take the written test because I don't have tickets. I don't have traffic tickets. I had one in my entire life. Two others that I fought in court and won. The cop didn't show up, but the one I paid. I was going, about 95 miles an hour on the downhill side of the Grapevine. That's that big Interstate 5 that goes up the pass north of Los Angeles and then down into Kern County, where Bakersfield is. The nice chippy wrote me up. Now, at the time, the limit was 55. 55. Now it's back to 65. But he wrote me up for 65, even though I was going 95, because he didn't want to arrest me, stick me in jail, and impound my car. So I just paid it. because I was speeding. Never did that again. Never. A twist and go bike. I don't know. My sense of balance isn't that good. I'll tell you what I do with what I did with a bicycle when I didn't have a broken hip. I would coast down to the library, little less than a mile away. And then I would walk the bike home because, frankly, it's easier to walk the bicycle than it is to pedal it going uphill. A lot easier. And when you look at that road, you don't really notice the slope. It doesn't look like it's uphill or downhill. But when you're on a bicycle, you can feel it. You can tell. But what I'd really like to have is one of those battery-powered wheelchairs. There's some people in this town who drive like hell on wheels in their electric wheelchairs. And some of them are almost a golf cart. But you know what? I tried one out at the grocery store where they provided them for people to get through the aisles and shop for their groceries. It was really terrible. I'm not a good wheelchair driver. It would take a lot of practice in a big parking lot to get the hang of it. Yeah, e-bikes. A lot of these new technologies are just status symbols. They aren't really better than the cheaper models, they just look cool. That's my problem with the term assault weapons. They don't really do anything that any other gun does, but they look cool. They're basically little 22 caliber pea shooters, but they look cool. And even a BB pellet, those little tiny round balls, can cause serious damage and even kill. I don't know how it is in other states, but in California, you have to go through a background check to get a pellet gun. So you have to wait something like 10 days before you can take it home after you've bought and paid for it. When I was a kid, of course they were only for boys, but I played with my brother's toys. They had these little rifles, plastic rifles you'd pump it up with the trigger guard. Get air into it, compressed air, by pumping it by hand, and they shot little plastic bullets. I had so much fun with those. When Mom wasn't looking, she didn't like guns. But Dad had some really cool guns. He had a vintage M1. Left it to me. I had to sell it. I needed the money. Oh, it wasn't an M1 that I got. It was it? No, it was I think it was a Mauser, German rifle. And my brother, my sister must have got the M1. Yeah, yeah. Civil War cannon. How'd you get a Civil War cannon in England, Ken? Well, the fact is, now I don't know how it is now, but before the gun control craze in the 1960s, you could legally own a working cannon. Also in England, where most people can't get a gun at all unless they've served in the military or on the police force. Potato gun, yeah, that sounds familiar, but I'm not sure exactly what that is. But in the early days of the United States, people could have any weapon, even the same weapons as the military. Everybody could have a cannon or a Gatling gun, the early machine gun that was pretty useless because it kept jamming. Oh, Civil War reenactment in England? And you were in the Confederate Army, Beacon. Ah. Do you know why or what the Emancipation Proclamation really did when Abraham Lincoln declared the slaves free? He was only able to do that because the North, where he was the president, was at war with the South. He freed all the slaves in the Confederate States. But to free the slaves in the northern states, where there were lots of slaves, for example, in Maryland and New York, it took an act of Congress to free the slaves in the North. The president did not have the power to emancipate slaves in the North, in the Union. The last place, this Juneteenth thing, June 19th, the last place for the Emancipation Proclamation to be announced was Texas on the 19th of June, and I forget what year, 1860 something. Because travel was really slow in those days, but I'm sure they had telegraphs, so the Texans probably knew. But a Union general, well, the Union was back together, but anyway, a general went to Texas and read it aloud that the slaves are free. I don't recall Texas being a slave state, but I guess it was. In all the movies and documentaries, you see places like Georgia and Virginia. I don't know. It's amazing, though, that the United States is unique not because we had slavery, but because we ended slavery. Although it took a bit longer to free the Chinese slaves and the Irish slaves, but that's another story. My water's almost empty. I'm going to get a refill, but I'll be back. Dum-de-dum, dum-de-dum-de-dum. Okay, I'm suffering itchy eyes and a bit of a runny nose because of the air pollution from the recent fires, as well as the wind that spreads tree pollen around. My son used to do reenactments. I don't think it was Civil War. I think it was uh, either one of the World Wars or Vietnam. Probably one of the World Wars. These mountains have places that could very well suit the purpose of recreating the Ardennes forest, where Germany, I think that's where they went through Belgium to avoid the Maginot Line. That's where we get the claim that walls don't work. France built this huge wall around their border known as the Maginot Line, with here and there a barracks or a bunker and some weapons for self-defense against Germany. So Germany went around it and marched through Belgium and captured France. Well, there is no Belgium between the United States and Mexico. There's just oceans. A wall just might at least slow things down. Yeah, there's about 400 miles of wall on our southern border, but the gates were never installed. So it's more like a welcome than a deterrent. These big, wide open gates, big enough for a good sized truck to drive through. It's like, here's where you should go. This is the safest place to cross the border. They're calling hay fever a variant. Well, and the regular flu is back. Yeah, I'm not taking the flu shot. I'm sure they're going to try another lockdown, but I'm not sure how people are going to put up with it in England or America. Remember, our little skirmish that we call the American Revolution was led by people fighting for their rights as English citizens. Never think that the Brits will just lie down and take it, at least not forever. I've lost track. Let's see. The PM, the Prime Minister, is Boris something. Boris? Boris Johnson. Boris? That doesn't sound English, does it? Oh well. Biden, I'm pretty sure, is a good German name. Trump is probably a misspelling of some other word by the immigration people who brought, I believe it was Donald Trump's father, who immigrated from somewhere in Eastern Europe. Wow. I'm just not happy. Our mask mandate is gone, but some places still want you to wear a mask, or they'll ask you, are you vaccinated? If it's yes, then you go in without a mask. But they aren't checking. We don't have a vaccine passport yet. And if we get one, I'd like to know how I'm supposed to produce a document that I don't have. I took the Pfizer shot, but I don't have proof of it. Do I have to go get another shot? I'm not going there. I had a terrible reaction to it, and I wish I hadn't done it. Oh, sex scandals are everywhere, and you know what they do when they hit the news? And the news cycle is all about sex scandals. It pushes even more important issues off the table. They don't get talked about. I get all kinds of news, even though I don't have television and I don't have cable. Um, but the internet is an amazing place. You can even watch the news on our networks and independent TV stations on the internet, on their websites. I have no clue what we're doing in Afghanistan. I do know that our current White House inhabitant has ordered the troops to come home in a couple months. But I don't know. I don't get any news about what's happening there. I hear a little teeny bit about Iraq once in a while. Nothing about Syria, where we apparently are still engaged, at least with fighter jets and bombers. Nothing about Syria. And Libya, even though technically we aren't there anymore, we have embassies. Nothing about Libya. Nothing about Egypt. Now, of course, I've heard that Israel got bombed by the Palestinians, and Israel's supposed to be evil because they shot back. Okay. It makes sense in the United States. If someone breaks into your home and you shoot him, you go to jail. At least in California. That's one reason why I choose not to have a gun. If I were to use it in self-defense, the police would confiscate my gun and put me in jail. Charged with a crime, I'd have to have a lawyer and go to court, maybe make bail if I could make bail. Meanwhile, my house would be totally unprotected because I wouldn't be there or here. I am here. So I just keep a disposable fire extinguisher, the kind you toss out when it's empty. Really great for the environment, I guess. They do recycle the metal, though. I don't care if the police take it, and they are not likely to arrest me for using a fire extinguisher. I've learned that pepper spray is not a good option in the home. You spray that stuff indoors and you're definitely going to breathe it in yourself. I've had that happen, and I had to drink a quart of milk to open up my throat so I could breathe again. M. Hancock. I don't know about the M. Hancock scandal, IV. Doesn't sound familiar. Viken knows. Hancock has shares in the VC. Oh, that must be inoculation. Wow. I don't know. Yeah, well, I never had a pit bull. I did have a Rottweiler, but he was half black Labrador. He loved his kitties and he wouldn't even let the neighbors' kitties come over. But he loved his kitties and he was good to them. Smoke, you see, the Rottweiler was Bandit and the cat was Smokey. So I had Smokey and the Bandit. And Smokey would lick all the juices off of Bandit's canned food. And Bandit would be watching and crying. It was funny. The cat had the dog scared of her. But anyway, I had several other cats, and Bandit loved them all. And he knew which kitties were his and which cats were not allowed on the property. Go home, cat. I miss my Bandit. I miss Smokey too. It's such a tragedy that our pets don't live very long. But in some ways, it's more of a tragedy when our most recent pets are still alive when we pass away or go to the old folks' home. My goal is never to go into care. I learned that phrase from watching a lot of British TV, like Call the Midwife and Midsummer Murders. Well, if I got back all my pets, in the New Kingdom, I wouldn't be able to lie down in bed because all the cats and dogs would be there. Mostly cats. I ended up with my son's first dog by default. Molly was mostly black Labrador with a little German Shepherd. And toward the end of her life, I had to leave my dog, Molly, in care with a lady who was like a cat lady, but only for dogs. And Molly got to dress up in her little clown outfit, a ruffle around her neck and a hat on her head, and go bye-bye in the car to the veterans home in Yountville, where she would, interact with the veterans who were in care in the veterans home. Molly was the perfect size for someone in a wheelchair to reach out and pet her. And since Molly was old, she was no longer jumping around like a puppy. Molly just had a great time, but we could tell when we visited, and Molly perked up when I was there, and she really perked up when my son, her boy, was there. Crossing a herding dog and a bird dog is mad. I imagine them rounding up geese. Well, what Molly did in the one place where I rented a room for a few months, the man who owned the house had horses. And once in a while, the horses would break into the garden and start eating the shrubbery. And nobody told Molly what to do, nobody trained her, but Molly knew that those horses did not belong in the garden. 3 horses. And Molly, just on her own, decided to chase them out of the garden and herd them back into their paddock. I was afraid the horses might kick her and hurt her, but that never happened. So, Molly was a good doggie. Lived to be about 19, which is super ancient for a big dog like a Labrador. The bigger dogs tend to make it to 12 years old, and if they make it to 14, you're really pushing the limit. My Bandit, the Rottweiler Lab mix, made it to 16. He was such a good boy. And I know that dog would lay down his life for me. He tried to once. This great big male raccoon, I mean huge raccoon, was on the front deck and probably had rabies. It was mad as a hatter and it was wanting to attack me. I happened to be outside with Bandit, and Bandit was not on a leash or anything because, I have a fenced yard. Well, Bandit was trying to protect me from the raccoon, and I was grabbing Bandit's collar and trying to pull him back and yelling, "No, no, no." Finally, a neighbor came along with a paintball gun and paintballed the raccoon till it gave up and left. Because I wanted to drag my dog into the house and shut the door, but he wanted to get that raccoon that was threatening his human mommy. Oh, poor Ken, you lost your dog and your girlfriend. Oh, raccoons. Most raccoons that do carry rabies don't have symptoms, but they can still bite you and give you rabies. This one had the symptoms. It really was scary. I thought I was going to lose my dog. And my dog thought he was going to lose me. Now, raccoons can be cute and adorable, but don't feed them. What happens is they make more babies, there isn't enough food, so they start breaking into your house to get more food. And a fed raccoon is a dead raccoon. They do end up having to be killed. You cannot simply relocate a raccoon into the more wild areas. They'll come back or they won't survive. Recently, I don't think it was in California, but a man living in a woodsy area had to shoot a bear that broke into his home and attacked him. The bear was wounded, but the animal control people or rangers, I guess they were forest rangers, they did have a vet look at it, but they had to put the bear down. His injuries were too serious to have him heal and go back in the wild. He was just suffering and he wasn't going to make it anyway. Oh, Beacon, I did not see the video about the woman defending her dogs from a bear. Around here in the mountains, it is not a good idea to have a small dog. We have eagles and hawks and owls. that just love to snack on small dogs. And then the coyotes come along, a whole pack of them. They'll even take on a big dog. Coyotes are sneaky. One of the female coyotes will lure a male dog away from safety, and then the pack descends on the dog and tears it to shreds. We even have a mountain lion, maybe 2 mountain lions, and several black bears. You won't find the official sources admitting it, but somebody reintroduced brown bears to this area some 40 years ago, something like that. The brown bears are the big ones, the ones we call grizzly. And they get big. Fortunately, I'm in town, such as it is, but there is a bear that from time to time visits this little area. It destroyed one of my plastic trash barrels, dumped it on its side to pop off the lid. And when that didn't work, it just clawed the trash barrel open. No raccoon in the world did that. That was a bear. And part of my fence, my chain link fence out front, it has pipes going horizontally across the top, except in one spot. One winter when the snow was especially deep, the bear tried to climb my fence, collapsed that metal bar, the steel bar that runs across the top, and was stopped, and I'm glad it was stopped, by my huge rose bushes that have thorns that can take your Levi's right off of you. But the rose bush was all bent over from the weight of the bear, but the bear gave up. Took the rose bush a while, but it's finally recovering and straightening up again. Wow. We have critters on this mountain. I don't mind most of them. They haven't really bothered me. But I miss my possum. He hasn't been around lately. He used to, at night usually, he'd travel along my clothesline, and if he came upon clothes that were hanging on the line overnight, he'd knock them onto the ground because they were in his way. And that's a small price to pay. Possums eat insects, and one of their favorite insects to eat is the tick. Ticks are horrible creatures. They're like fleas, but once they bite you, they stay attached until you get rid of them, and they carry all kinds of diseases. We don't really have fleas up here because they can't survive our snowy winters, but every summer the tourists bring up their dogs, and their dogs have fleas. So we'll get fleas for a short time until the winter cold kills them. Oh, I'm going to have to look for the YouTube video of the woman defending her dogs from a bear. I've been on for almost an hour and a half, just impromptu, just because I was awake. But it's time to do a little baking before it gets too hot. I don't do much cooking when it's 80, 90 degrees out. I don't have air conditioning because we claim that we don't need it up here on the mountain. But in summer, I think I really need a swamp cooler. We need a little extra humidity. The swamp cooler blows a fan across cold water, and it uses a lot less electricity than an air conditioner. And you know, air conditioners dry out the air. We're already lacking humidity. We need to add water vapor. So I'm looking around for a swamp cooler. Something small, not a huge whole house deal, but a portable one that'll at least do one room. This whole house is smaller than some people's living rooms. It's 20 feet by 20 feet. Oh well, it's home. I just wish it had more bookshelves. I would really love to put it in, probably on the wall behind me, just put in bookshelves from top to bottom and one of those ladders that are made for going up and down to different bookshelves. Okay, guys, an hour and a half is really long enough unless there's something you want to talk about. Ah. Bah. See, I'm not sick, I'm just a smoker. I hit my throat with the smoke. I don't usually inhale cigarette smoke. It's not my thing. And that's why I just puff on them. And believe me, the tissues in your mouth and your nose are very good at absorbing the nicotine. And then you don't have a coughing fit. Oh, God. I inhaled it. Ugh. Another good reason why I don't smoke pot. You have to inhale that. And then I die of a coughing fit. Okay, you too. And everybody have a good day. And thank you all for listening. Okay, I better check out Facebook. There's no going back to sleep now. It's 20 till 6. Come on, you evil mouse. Wake up, wake up. Oh, I got a thumbs up. Thank you. All right. I will catch you guys next Tuesday morning or possibly sooner. We'll see. Thank you all for listening.